All right, good evening, everybody. We're going to get started for our sixth out of 8 training sessions for this year. Tonight's topic is line of scrimmage, and Steve Citro will be presenting, and I want to thank Steve in advance. And just a couple housekeeping things real fast. Make sure you're muted. Make sure, if you could, if possible, you keep your video off too, to help with any issues we might have. Hopefully there won't be any. And also our next 2 sessions are June 11th, which would be improving consistency and judgment with holding calls and other calls. That'll be presented by Mark Bitar. And then the last one will be July 17th, which is we'll have referees announcement, and of course we'll have some other things probably tied in too, and that'll be presented by Jim Kapoor. So the other things to note, the registration has now been open for a couple days with regard to the Sayreville Clinic on August 3rd. So please make sure you get in fast and get in early. And also, if you do not have the link, make sure you reach out to your chapter corresponding secretary or whoever takes care of that for your chapter to get that link. Should have been sent out to everybody. If not, let us know. So otherwise, no more waiting for Steve for his presentation tonight. So I'm going to let Steve have the floor and get going. So take it away, Steve.
Thanks, Scott. Thanks everyone for joining. We're at 79 participants at the moment. I expect that to continue to grow. We're going to be focusing on the line of scrimmage today, but we're primarily going to be looking at forward progress. There's going to be some plays involved. There's going to be some Zoom polls and see how consistent we can get with our forward progress spots. I have a short PowerPoint presentation that I'm going to go through quickly. Just some things we need to be aware of when we're judging forward progress. So first things first, we need to know the definition. And the big thing is here, is the end of advancement of the football. It doesn't matter where the player it is. It's always the football and where it is in relation, closest to the goal line when their progress is stopped while in that runner's possession. And we also need to know the dead ball spot, once again, is under the foremost point of the ball where it becomes dead by rule. Right, and then obviously we need to know when the ball becomes dead. Unlike other levels of football, this player in this picture is down here. We do not need down by contact. We just need down, and that's defined as when he is held so his forward progress is stopped or allows any part of his person other than a hand or foot to touch the ground. Right, and then there's some scenarios where it gets a little difficult to judge that forward progress. We have a diving ball carrier. So when we have a diving ball carrier, you got to think, is he landing like an airplane? Meaning like the picture we see here, is his knees going to land prior to the rest of his body? Or is he soaring like Superman? So if he's landing like an airplane, the ball's not going to be advanced as far as if he was soaring like Superman. Sliding ball carrier. These are difficult, so it's where he starts to break down his hips is the end of the forward progress spot. So we need to be able to judge where the football was when the ball carrier started his slide. It is typically a yard behind where you judge it to be. Runner going out of bounds. Where was the football when it crossed the sideline? Again, it's dependent on where the football is, not where the runner crosses the sideline. It's where the football crosses the sideline. So, if you're behind him, you need to judge, was the ball in his outside hand, closer to the sideline, or his inside hand more in the field of play? That matters, because if it's in the field of play, he's probably going to get a bit more advancement out of that before the ball crosses the line of scrimmage. And then neutral legs. Neutral legs becomes difficult. It becomes difficult when to blow the whistle. We want to give the runners a chance to break free. But if he has no control of his legs, is he just, we're in a stalemate here, and you could get that for a beat or two, we need to kill that play. Nothing good's going to happen out of that scenario. You could have a cheap fumble. Worse, you could have an injury. So we need to be better on judgments on those. And then, using proper mechanics, we're going to talk things like crossfield spots. It's not only for the umpire, but it's for us as short wings. If there's a play across the field for me, sometimes I could see that spot better than my partner across that's in front of the play, because they're getting driven back and he's got a lot of action from me. Just because of the angle, I have a better view to get an accurate spot. Matching up. Again, we're helping the umpire here, but it looks good. Get on the same page. Take a beat on the sideline. Make sure you and your partner are on the same yard line before coming into the field to play. We're going to see a few plays tonight where our wings are not matched up, and it just does not look the best. Crashing. Now, if we have a critical spot on 3rd or 4th down, and we're very close to the line to gain or the goal line, we need to crash in there, sell our call, but it also helps us, get in there, get a better spot. If we need a measurement, we have to put the football down on the ground and things like that. And then finally, the fundamental squaring off. We're going to see a play or two where the short wings will round their spots in, and you could just tell by their motion, their spots are not accurate. So just a couple of tips, like I said, based on things, I've learned throughout my career as a short wing, and helped me determine better spots. So now, I'm going to do this. I want to show this. Why is it not letting me optimize? All right, so what are our considerations here as a short wing, right? We know it's 2nd down. We know it's long. We're behind the sticks, right? So these are things we need to consider. Communicate, double stick somehow. Don't erroneously give a 1st down signal when we see out of the corner of our eye we cross that stick. All right, then we're going to look at the formation. Everything is legal here. Pick out and identify our keys. And we don't want to be hunched over like we're seeing here. We want to be standing up straight, ready to officiate. Okay, player hit and driven backwards. So our first poll of the night, we could, your judgment, what does everybody think that spot would be? And I'll run it back. Hopefully it's coming through clearly. We've got a mix of answers coming in here. Give it another minute or so for some answers to come in. All right, so we're going to shut this poll down now. Majority of our votes were for the 43-yard line, and I do like the 43-yard line. I do like the 44 as well. It looks to probably be in between those 2 yard lines. So 43, 44, I'm okay with either one of those spots. But the point is, we know it's where that player was hit and driven backwards, not where he was taken to the ground at the 45 or 46 yard line. Next play. All right, so we got 1st and 10 here. Once again, knowing our situation, knowing our line to gain is at the 44. Looking at the formation, everything looks good. Okay. And this is what I would call neutral legs right there. We take way too long to kill this play. So if we run it back, right here, the play's over. And we wait a good 3 seconds before we put our hand up and kill this play. So we want to be better at recognizing neutral legs and shutting these down so we don't get those cheap fumbles or injured players. All right, so this time we got 2nd and 4. We know our line to gain is the 44-yard line. Here's where we want to help our crew out, especially help out the referee and communicate, long 5 versus short 5. 5 gets you 1, however your crew decides to communicate it. But it helps the referee know if we have that defensive offsides, he could go into his signals and signal 1st down here. Again, good formation, everything looks good to start. A couple missed tackles by this player. He's hit and driven way far back on this one. So again, we're gonna launch a poll. We'll watch it a couple times while the poll's running and judge our forward progress spot. While we're watching this, if we watch the line of scrimmage official at the top, this is what we don't want to see. He's indecisive with his spot before coming out on the field. He moves up, he comes back, he moves back upfield. That's what I mentioned earlier. Just stop on the sideline if you're trying to match up. Make sure you're on the same yard line, especially if you're not confident in your spot. Match up and then come out. All right, we're gonna end the poll here. We have a lot of votes for the 42 and 43-yard line. I personally like the 43. The 42 is a solid spot as well. It looks to be in between. So, obviously being on the field, it's a little easier to judge this than watching film. And don't be afraid to put the ball in between the 42 and 43-yard line if that's where you have the spot. I just like that we're not going to put this ball on the 40-yard line here. Blank, please keep yourself muted. All right, this play, once again, looking at the situation, we have 1st and 10. We know we're on the 49-yard line. We have to go to the 39-yard line. That's something that's in my pre-snap routine as a short wing, just knowing the situation. If you look, when this receiver, we have a receiver pointing back and a receiver pointing up, right? So we would think we're good here. We have an official correctly punching back here, but we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think we all understand that 5 in the backfield at the snap is not legal, and this is something we have to be 100% on. You know, we need to get these every time. So, moving on to our topic at hand, we are I just run up the middle. Okay, player lands and maybe slides a little bit, right? So if we watch it, was he down at the 39? Was he down at the 40? Let's see what everybody thinks. Oh, no, I don't have a poll for that one. So just know when he hits the ground, it looks like here, the 39-yard line is going to be our spot, not the advance he gets when his momentum going to the ground takes him a yard further. Again, we want to match up. Our line judge and head linesman are not on the same yard line here. As we can see, we're, behind the sticks here, second and long. Again, communicate double sticks. Just knowing the situation, I know that, it's the line against 39. And think about what I mentioned earlier on this play, a diving ball carrier. How is he landing? Is his knees landing first,
Oh,
or is he?
oh, fucking.
Can you mute yourself, please?
Hey, get out of here. Go. Mom, get down. Oh, you were gone.
All right. So again, as this ball player is coming to the ground, are his knees landing first, or is he stretching, or is his hand or feet landing first? That's going to affect the spot of the ball. Now, once again, our wings are not on the same page. We have one wing killing and one coming in dead ball short. So this is where working together as a team, you need reps together and you get on the same page. Slowing down a little bit will help in this situation. Plays 68. What does everybody think that spot should be? All right, the majority has the 38-yard line, which I agree with. The 38-yard line is the right spot here. If we, obviously we have the luxury of slowing down film here. But if you look, he hits the ground and then stretches a little further and slides. So we do not want to give a first down on this one.
Steve, question
Sure.
on that play, the Jim, apologize for being tardy. Was there a foul as to why, or a helmet off? Why was the clock being stopped?
I didn't notice a foul or anything like that watching the film. I think the short wing judged it to be a first down, which is why he was killing the clock.
Well, I mean, his body language is not at the 39. I thought maybe because it was more than 10, maybe they got caught up in the first stake being achieved. I mean, I don't know. I'm guessing, but
Possible as well. And we talked about
okay.
earlier communicating before the down, knowing we're in double sticks, whether we have somebody designated on the radio to remind the crew if you do a double stick signal. I suggest if anybody's using the crossing their hands for double sticks, do not do that over your head because it could look like a kill the clock signal. So keep it down at your chest.
So Steve, talk about if we do erroneously stop the clock, what is our next step?
So our next step at this point would be communicate to the referee that we should be going to third down in this situation so we could get that clock started right back up.
I think the short wing there, if he realizes his mistake, I think he should also crank the clock then. The clock operator is probably stopping it because he sees him stopping it, right? So if it's another second or two and then he winds it again, you know, from this view here, it's clearly short. But okay.
Let's play. All right, again, we have third and long. Yeah, third and long. What time am I? So I do like here how the umpire, I know we're talking line of scrimmage here, but the umpire is holding everybody up until the referee puts the ball ready for play, and then he backs out nicely here. And then if we look at the spots from our respective short wings in this scenario, it's not a good optic on the end of this play. You look in, we have one guy at the 38 and one guy at the 40. So I think it's slowing down a little bit here. If you're confident, obviously you take the spot, but making sure we're matching up before we walk on the field. First and 10 from the 32. We're going to the 22. Our formation looks good. Like I said, every play, we want to be 100% on these pre-snap. Hit in the backfield and then driven way back and pulled back. So on this one, I would like to poll the group on what we think the correct forward progress spot is here. We have a overwhelming majority, say the 35-yard line. I could agree with that. I think that's a good spot. In a play like this, when they're losing yardage, especially, but if they're being driven away from you like this, it tends to be a yard closer than what you initially think. If we look, we might even be able to give them the 34 on the yard line. But the point is, it's where he's stopped and driven backwards. That's our forward progress point. All right, so we have 3rd and 2 here. Right, so we know it's short yardage to go, and we got to be aware of the line to gain. Where we're looking to get to. As I talked, keep that in your pre-snap routine. Have a good idea where that line to gain is. Remember, if this were 4th down and they're going for it, our mechanics are to get to that line to gain, similar to what we would do if we were snapping from the 7 and then going to the goal line. So we want to get there. We want to officiate that line to gain, be there ready to crash and get a good spot on a critical spot. So once again, we have a good formation, right? They're tight. We don't have any rule that says we can have too many men on the line of scrimmage. They could have 10 up there if they wanted to. So it looks like we only have 3 in the backfield, depending on where we judge this receiver to be. But just know that that's perfectly legal. Hit driven way back. And just, we'll watch it one more time. We don't need to crash so hard on these plays. It wasn't that close to the line of game where we were going to crash and spot the ball as a short wing. Remember, if we want to have a measurement, and measurements, are something we shouldn't be afraid to do if the situation calls for it. The short wing needs to put the football on the ground where it became dead. So, in this case, it was dead in between the hash marks. We would need to crash all the way in, get the ball from, in this case, from the referee and put it down at our feet. If it was dead on the opposite sideline, out of bounds or whatever, 53 yards away from where the sticks are, we would have to bring the sticks all the way across the field and measure at the dead ball spot.
Steve, you got a question here in the chat room. It's set from Joe Ingato. It says, talk about where the far side official should go in the event of a sweep to his side. Generally, the official would back out and let the play go in front of him. Is this the case where when an LTG, the line to gain is in jeopardy?
So that's where it gets tough. If it's 4th and short and we're moving to the line to gain, this is why we need the sticks back and give ourselves room to work. We want to get there and back off the field as far as we can. If you have to retreat in the backfield, that's why we have a partner on the other side helping us out. We want to keep ourselves safe. If it's not that 4th down play, this is a situation where I've struggled with my timing on plays into the backfield and how soon I should start moving. You need to judge the play when it gets to around the numbers and how quickly it's coming to you before you move into the backfield. But absolutely, if the play is coming on you quick and there's a chance it could come out of bounds at your feet, move into the offensive backfield, keep yourself in good position to officiate, keep yourself in position to not get hit and stay healthy. This way you can officiate the next down. I wish I could give a more definitive answer on when to do that, but it's all a judgment, because if the play is slowly coming to your sideline, they could easily stop, at the bottom of the numbers and go upfield, versus, a speed sweep all the way to your sideline. So it's going to be a judgment on as it approaches to you and how quickly it's coming on you when to move into the backfield. Joe, I hope I answered your question. Okay, next play. All right. We are snapping from the 8-yard line. It's 2nd and long. And, like I said, we talked about earlier, know that it's, double sticks, know that scenario, keep it in the back of your mind. As Jim alluded to a few minutes ago, when you cross that first stick, you don't think it's a first down. Always judge our formation. You want to be 100%. Now this play is nice and easy, right? I think we could all agree this progress spot is the 2-yard line. The wings get back and correctly get that spot. But I have a couple of what ifs for you on this play, and this comes to the Zoom poll. So the first one is, if the quarterback was hit in the same way and driven into the end zone and brought to the ground, this contact was maintained through the entire action, what's that spot? And then same thing, only quarterback breaks away from the defender at the 1, but in continuing action, he retreats into the end zone, but he was downed in the end zone. And the final what if I have for you, he's driven into the end zone, he breaks away in the end zone, runs around for a second, but then is brought down in the end zone.
If he runs around in the end zone and he's taken down in the end zone, that's a safety. Correct?
Well, let's let people vote in the polls and we will take it from there. We're just about half participation in the poll. And we're there. So let's take this one question at a time and I'll leave them up on the screen as we're talking. Majority agreed for question one, same scenario, but the defender drives the quarterback into the end zone and brings him to the ground. The contact was maintained the entire time. So it's correct to judge the forward progress spot is the 2-yard line as he was driven backwards, not under his control going into the end zone. Number two, vast majority, about 80% agree that that's a safety. Quarterback breaks away at the 1, but he retreats into the end zone where he's brought to the ground. So, he breaks away and his own momentum is taking him in. It could be a judgment call whether he his forward progress is completely stopped too. So, if he's driven in backwards and he just stops in the end zone, was his forward progress actually stopped at the 2 or at the 1? Did he bring himself into the end zone? There's a lot of what ifs in that scenario where we have to use our best judgment. If you can, I would say try not to rule a safety, but it's tough and it's hard to talk about black and white on paper when we have to see those plays. But and then the third one, I agree with everybody saying that's a safety because this is what I would call is quote reloading his forward progress because he's able to get his own feet and he's running around a bit and he can't get out of the end zone. So is that clear for everybody? I will take that as a yes. Next play, different game. We got 3rd and short. Okay, we got to go from the where we at the 42. We got to get to the 44. Okay, first things first. All team A gets set for 1 second, right? We know we need that breaking out of a huddle. We know we have 2 yards to go. We have an idea where the line to gain is. Our formation is good. Every time we want to do the same thing. Some variation of this, what works best for you, but we need to be 100% on encroachment or defensive offsides, false starts, and formations. So let's watch this once quickly. All right. Now that the runner is hit, he spins around. Where's the football when it hits, when he's down? You know, where's our progress spot? Let's watch this poll and see what everybody thinks. As we're voting, you know, if we watch our short wing at the bottom here, he starts at the 44, but then drifts in as he's getting his spot to be short. That's another bad optic we don't want. Get your spot and then come straight into the field of play. Does a nice job initially squaring off and coming in, but then he drifts. All right, we got a pretty close vote between the 43 and the 44. I do like how we're not judging this to be the 45-yard line. You know, that's where his feet are, not where the football is. Once again, very difficult in this film to get the exact spot, but I do like how our short wing at the top is in between, not afraid to put the ball in between. Based on what I'm seeing in this film, I do think it's an in-between spot. But the point here is to know it's where the football is, not where his feet are when he touches the ground. Seven. Would anyone like to volunteer walking us through the situation? No, no takers?
Well, somebody step up.
I'm driving, so I won't help.
Hey,
Oh, there's 99.
And I'll speak
people.
up.
Alright, Steve, I'll do it.
Okay,
I'll speak
I'll
up.
vote. Thank you.
You ready?
Yes,
Alright, so we got 4th down and about 1 from the 44, or from the 43.5 going to the 44. So at the snap, our 2 wings should step to the line to gain and hold that spot to look in.
very good. If it's a tight spot, what do we want to do then?
If it's a tight spot, you want to crash very hard, coming in, crash very fast to the ball, and hold the spot and secure the ball, put it at your feet, and don't move the ball at that point.
Very good. Important thing to know is, as important as that spot is and we're crashing hard, we have to keep our head up and dead ball officiate at the same time, right? It can be difficult trying to do multiple things at once. But, you know, one of our fundamentals is we have to be great dead ball officials, right? So great job, Dan. What else do we have here? How does our formation look? We have 4 in the backfield, right? You know, we're going to assume we have 5 players numbered 50 to 79. And an umpire staring down at that. The referee should have an opinion on that as well. So,
Hey, Steve.
Yeah.
This is Jerry.
hey, Jerry.
Before this play, we can even remind ourselves that at the end of this play, no matter what happens, since it is 4th down, we have to kill the clock.
Very good point. You know, a lot of guys at this level like to do rolling fists for that. That means different things to different folks. So, but the key there is knowing that it's 4th down and we have an automatic kill, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Hey, Steve,
Yeah,
when you were talking about the dead ball officiating while you're still crashing here, this is where the deep wings need to accordion in hard and be watching this dead ball action. Because that near side wing may very well go past these two opponents standing there at the 42 and 45-yard line. So that's where the deep wings can help us with the dead ball officiating.
great point. Thanks for chiming in with that, Bob. The deep wings have a great vantage point for dead ball officiating, right? We're hopefully at least 20 yards away, unless it's a real long play. So you could keep your field of vision open. Don't be in a rush to crash in and accordion in. Just kind of step in the field and keep your head up. Help out those short wings who are worried about that spot. And I know I've been guilty of hyper focusing on that spot, and maybe I've missed something, especially if I run past it. Obviously, don't have eyes in the back of our head. So great point there. So I'll run this through now. Okay. Nothing wrong with any of that, right? They changed the play. Everybody looks at the sheet. Feet aren't moving. There's no simulating action at the snap. So nothing that looks like a false start. At the snap, step right to the line to gain. Great mechanics there, knowing the situation, knowing that that's our most important line to judge at this moment in time. Hit very close, right? I like how we're crashing here. But in my opinion, I think our wing at the bottom, I like how he's owning the call, but I think the wing at the top has a different opinion. So we kind of got to work on that. If we're pointing one way and it winds up going the other, it's, it doesn't look good. I want to run it back to the beginning of the play too. One thing we have to do and be better at is owning the sidelines. If we watch the top of the screen here, this coach is nearly on the field. And then he's drifting towards the line, being 10 yards back. We're probably not going to even notice it, right? 10 yards in the offensive backfield. But as he's getting closer and closer, he's now in my peripheral. He's now distracting me. We have to get him back. And then he's right in the official's pocket during the play. What if we had to retreat? We're running right into him. We have to talk to his coach. We have to get him out of the white. Okay, we have another coach all the way down here. We have this guy, cameraman. We got to take control of our sidelines. Good crash. I like that we're aware it's forked down and it's close. We're making a call and pointing. Just make sure we're doing it properly. All right. Now we have our first free kick play of the night. Just a note for everybody watching, it's going to be easy to lose this runner in the wash, as we might want to call it, or the grouping of players in the middle field. I do stop it in the middle and circle him so we could find him. But what are we thinking as a short wing? When we're working free kicks, right? We go, all right, I got to start the clock on first legal touching of the kick. If we're all the way down at the pylon, more likely than not, it's going to be team R. We're going to be aware for kicks out of bounds. Those are the easy ones. What we need to be aware of is, we know that any low block is not legal, and high potential for blindside blocks. I always think I got 22 players spread all the way across the field, running at full speed. Something bad's going to happen.
Steve, there's a chat comment, and whoever put it in there is correct. I think it's Peter Schmidt. Everyone look at the short wing at the goal line, or about 2 or 3 yards in the end zone. I know each year on the mechanics committee, we get some people suggesting that on kickoffs, our short wing start around the 10 or the 15. We didn't go along with that, but this short wing you want to be goal line extended on a kickoff. You don't have to be 2 or 3 yards behind. That gives you even farther to run. So I think it was Peter Schmidt in the chat box. Thank you for noticing that. You're exactly right. Just get goal line extended and hang out and hold your water and then react to the play.
Yeah, so thanks, Jim, for pointing out the chat. He shouldn't be on top of the pylon, as Jim said. I'm typically a step into the end zone. It's, slightly further back, in that very, very rare case that the pylon is threatened with the football, we have a better angle for that. But, obviously not deep into the end zone. All right, and, this play is going to be for illustration purposes. I don't want anybody to think, free kicks are critical spots. We have to nail it to the exact blade of grass. If we're in the zip code on a kickoff play, we're going to be okay. But if you just watch the end of this play, it's good for picking out where we might want the forward progress spot to be. All right, so watch that player right there in the middle. Right, he hits the ground and slides, right? Hits and then slides. So I think we all can agree we don't want to give him the slide on this play as his forward progress spot. So if we were judging this action as a regular scrimmage down, ignore the fact for a minute that this is a free kick, where would we want to put this progress spot? All right. We got a mix of the 32, 33, and 34 yard lines, with the majority of our votes coming in for the 33-yard line, which I agree that's the most proper spot on this. He seems to hit the ground right there and then slides forward. So, in my opinion, that's the best spot. Now, like I said earlier, if we're, on a free kick, we're running a long way to get this spot. If we're up at the 35, I don't think anybody's going to complain. But this is one thing that's very difficult, especially on kick plays. We got players coming into the field. If you watch our wing at the bottom, looks like at about the 30, he starts coming into the field, and it's a big angle to the 35-yard line. That's what we don't want to see. Our wing at the top completely overruns the play and goes to the 36. So just know when the player hits the ground and slides, he does not get that slide as his forward progress.
Steve, you had a question in the chat box from Robert Riadelli. Can you review what the short wing key should be on the kickoff?
Sure. So kickoffs are hard, right? I think almost every official you talk to will tell you they hate kickoffs. I know I personally do. On this one, you got to read the play a little bit, right? So we don't have a key in the beginning like the deep wings do, so we're kind of free to read the action. On this play, I'm going to see the runner going in, so I'm going to go outside in with my coverage. I'm going to look at this block at about the 21-yard line and then work my way in the direction of the return and trying to keep my eyes ahead of the action. Right here, we don't have much of a chance to get any of the blocks ahead. So our deep wings and the umpire that are down here got to help with these blocks now, right? So very, they are tough plays. They're hard to do. I tell people all the time, I stink at free kick plays, but it's just trying to read where the action is. Now, if this player catches the ball and starts running towards the sideline, then I'm going to work inside out, starting with that same block and then working my way towards the sideline of the blocks that are potentially impacting this play. I hope that helps. Right. Right, we have 1st and 10, right? We have it nice and easy. Looks like it might be the next play following that kickoff. We're going from the 35 to the 45. Makes it easy when we have the big line right in the middle, for the 5 gets you 1. As I said earlier, when we're close to those in that 4 to 6 yard line range, help the crew out. Get your box guy talking to you, if we're behind or beyond the tape. Use them to your advantage so you can look good to your crew. There's a small note on the umpire here. Watch, he turns his back to the football. We don't want to do that, right? We want to back out in these scenarios. Short pass goes for a long gain. Right? Brought down. Where's that spot of forward progress? Right? And we gotta think the short wing, the closest short wing is 22 yards behind us, about 22 yards. Deep wings, don't be afraid to help out with this spot here. Okay, get on the O to O. Once again, this is not critical, this spot, but we do want to be accurate. So based on this action, what is our spot? We have most of our people coming in at the 29, 30, I think are good spots. Anything beyond that, I think he's sliding, definitely not the 27, 26. And then our final play of the night. So we got 1st and 10 at the 11-yard line. All right, so this is kind of a not great situation for us to be in. And why is that? Well, we have the line to gain inside the 2 when we're snapping outside the 7. So whose spot is it if we get to the line to gain? It's going to be a deep wing spot, right? Who takes spots all game? Who are the experts? The short wings. So, we're asking the deep wing to judge a potential critical spot at the line to gain and something they're not doing all that often, right? Secondly, if you look at the deep wing at the top here, he's kind of got to look through the sticks here. So get them backing up even further. You get them on the yellow line in this situation, help out the deep wing. Ask them to give yourself that clean field of vision here. I know it's tough with some of our chain crews, but work with them, get them working with you, help each other out, and make sure that the deep wing has a clean field of vision on this play here. Now, if we watch this play run out, whose spot is that, right? It's close. Is it at the 2? Is it inside the 2? Is it at the, inside the 2 versus at the 2? Personally, If it's at the 2, I'm telling the deep wings it's my spot. If it's inside the 2, I'll let them take it in this scenario. And what we need to do here is help each other out. So if I'm the short wing at the bottom here, and I'm coming down, I see where this spot is. I'm gonna call out verbally, my spot, my spot, my spot. Or if it's inside the 2, I'm gonna say your spot, your spot, your spot, while keeping my head up and officiating the play. And that little communication makes us look good. We don't bump into each other where we're both trying to take the spot, and we're working together to make sure we officiate the play properly. As a short wing, you should want to own this spot this close to our territory. And our short wings do that here.
Steve, you got a couple comments and questions in the chat box?
Sure. What do we got here? Where should short wing stand pre-snap? Heels on the back of the white or toes on the front of the white? So once again, that's dependent on the scenario here. Wherever you're comfortable, I'm a toes on the green type of guy until we get closer and closer. Then I start backing up further and further. I don't start to think about backing up until we're going into goal line mechanics, because maybe personally, I'm not that great of an athlete. When I try to slide, especially on an angle, I start hopping and it skews my vision. So I start deeper. This way I could go straight down to the goal line and not worrying about trying to get more depth. So if we were at the 7 here, and especially if the ball is on my hash mark, I'd be a yard back off of the white here. So that's my take on that one. But again, it's your comfortability. If you're good with sliding on an angle and getting more depth and you're more comfortable being closer, that's fine. I'm okay with that, as long as at the end of the play, you move into the right position, you have proper depth to judge the play and officiate, and you can move smoothly. I would prefer that you start further back, but I don't have a hard and fast rule on that one. Defense only had 10 players on field. I see 11. Okay. So one more time. I'm coming down, my spot, my spot, my spot, and I'm coming in getting it. Hey everyone, that's what I had prepared for tonight. If anybody has any questions, we have a few minutes. I'd be happy to answer any questions. But I appreciate your participation in the polls tonight. Dan, thanks for stepping up when I asked for a volunteer, and for your questions. Without the questions, I personally don't know if I'm covering the material thoroughly enough. So thank you for pointing out what I need to cover a little bit better, or something I'm missing or you need answers on. Jim and Bob, thanks for your wisdom and chiming in.
Steve, how do you put the questions in for yard lines and that? Is that something that requires great technical expertise?
No, it's just knowing a little bit at Zoom. It's very easy to do.
Well, I think it's a nice feature. Thanks for your efforts with that.
Steve, got a question in the chat box. Says how quickly should a short wing move after the ball goes downfield away from them?
So, Zach, if you don't mind coming off mute and explaining your question a little more clearly, because I could think of 3 different scenarios.
Yeah, mainly long plays, long runs. You got like a running back that breaks through the line of scrimmage, or a screen pass that's going for a significant gain, more than like 10 yards.
Okay. You want to let that cushion develop in front of you, right? As a short wing, we don't like being on top of plays. We want to maintain a safe distance. I could be anywhere from 7 to 10 yards behind the play and effectively officiate the entire play and get that forward progress spot. So let that cushion develop. Don't be in a rush to break out into a sprint either. We say move with a purpose, hustle, don't hurry, all those fun things, but just move at a pace that you could keep up with the play without making your eyes bounce too much. You know, we want to maintain, you know, as Ed Camp would say, sniper eyes best you can on the move. This way you have clear vision.
Anybody else have any questions for this evening?
Well, Steve, this Jerry again.
Not that far. No, it's not.
You know, it might be something we can go over in another session. About the spotting on when you get the goal line extended and when you do not get the goal line extended. That's something that, you know, for spotting the ball, it's very important. And there's, you know, a couple scenarios of when you get it, when you don't. I know right now, you know, I don't expect you to go through that now, but maybe we can do that at a later time or something, you know.
Yeah, good topic, Jerry. We could spend easily 15-20 minutes on that.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
So
Yes.
yeah, Scott, if we can note that down for a future session, maybe next year when we plan these out, I think it's a good topic.
A
Add it
quick
to the
question.
list.
Sure.
I'm not sure if we've gone over this before, and I'm pretty sure we're gonna go over it on the on-field mechanics. But just to get a heads up, how far in or far apart should the deep wings and the short wings be, or positioning as far as being in the red zone, like inside the 10?
So that's a little bit of a loaded question. I believe the mechanics manual says on a normal play to be 22 yards from the line of scrimmage for a deep wing. But as we start getting tighter to that goal line, the deep wing's got to be on the goal line extended up until the point that we're snapping from the 7 or in. So they could be as little as 8 yards apart in that scenario.
That's a good question. Is it Frank? So put it like this, in no circumstance should they ever be closer than 7 yards, right? So if the ball, as Steve said, if the ball's on the 8 going in, the deep wing has to be on the goal line. If it's on the 7, the deep wing's on the end line. So, you know, when the regular scrimmage play, 22, 24, but be across from one another, just like the short wings are directly across, the deep wing should also be directly across from one another on the same yard line.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Well done, Steve.
Real quick, just one other thing. I'm sorry, guys.
Go. Sure.
So the deep wings, when they're in, let's just say the end line, do they ever shift inside towards the middle at all, or they always stay basically on the end line?
Yeah, no, they do, and I misspoke. When the ball's touching the 7, they come into the numbers on the end line, so they're not on the sideline end line, and that's in the manual. So that's my fault for overlooking that a few moments ago. So Frank, thank you for the second question.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Steve, want to thank you. Great job tonight.
Thank you. Of course, anytime, happy to do it.
This will be available as a reminder, on the NJFOA quote unquote channel on YouTube. It'll be loaded up in the next couple days, so everybody will be able to view it. And as a reminder, once again, registration is open for the clinic on August 3rd, and everybody should have received the link. If you haven't, reach out to your local chapter secretaries, because they've all been handed that information. So we don't have anything else for this evening. Everybody enjoy your evening. Happy Memorial Day, and we'll see you next time on, it's in June. I believe it's June 11th, if I was remember correctly. I don't have it up on my screen anymore, but we will send the link out in a timely manner. So again, Steve, thank you. And thank you for everybody participating tonight.
No, you're welcome.
Not everyone.